Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and in today's video, I am joined by the illustrious Naomi Brockwell. How are you doing, Naomi?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. You guys may know we met on
Sensational.
Around the Blockchain, and the first time we met, it was a good show. The second time we met, the internet on ATB went out, and Naomi and I, mostly Naomi, like 90% Naomi, carried it and kept the show going. So, Naomi, I'm sure the ATB crew is very, very thankful for you on that. But really quickly, for our audience, I want to read a few of the things that you have done. You're an actress. You're the founder and CEO of Rainsworth Production. You're outspoken about privacy and individual freedom. You are the author of the Crypto Beat newsletter, which we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. I have read, and you'll have to tell me if this is right, you speak Italian, French, German. You've started with Russian and Japanese, and obviously you speak English. You have a state gold medal for Irish dancing. Naomi, my first question for you is there anything you can't do?
So I feel like you scoured the end. I don't know where you got all of that from. I do want to push back on some of it, right? There was a period of time where I was an opera singer, which you didn't mention, hence all of the languages. So I was like pretty fluent at, I would say German, Italian, French were like pretty solid for like a good 5-6 years there. I was heading to Europe every year doing like trading, all of that stuff. But when you stop speaking a language, you forget it immediately. So definitely not correct to say that I'm really good. Like I could probably hold a conversation with a 2-year-old in those languages. My Russian's almost completely gone. I can be like, у меня, yes, две сестры. That's like it. Nothing is like retained in my mind for that. And Japanese, like I just watch too much anime. I'm trying real hard with that because that's my new addiction right now. I'm just like learning the hiragana and the katakana, but all I can do is like Sugoi, super ultra mega. Like, I mean, I know anime words basically.
Well, I'm sure about a good 35% of our audience needs to know before we jump into the serious topics. What's your favorite anime?
Oh, I mean, Attack on Titan is like,
I've got to agree with you there.
They say like this is the final season, and I waited so long for that, and we waited until it was all released as well, and then watch it, and then you get to the end, it's like to be continued. I'm like, this is not the final season if you stop at to be continued. So it broke my heart, but I'm also really glad that it isn't over yet because I was thinking that would be the end. I would finish it, but I still have so much to dive into there. Very excited.
I haven't watched a lot of anime, but the anime I have watched is Attack on Titan. I love that show. It's actually really, really good. I used to, fun fact, be able to play the intro of season 1 on the violin, and I stopped playing the violin. I've heard you play some instruments also. I heard about ukulele, guitar. What am I hearing that right?
A bunch, yeah. Well, in my house, I've got an electric drum kit. I played that for like years and years. Was in like one of those really cool bands in school where you play with your friends, and then you look back and you're like, oh, that wasn't cool at all. Played like Blink 182.
There you go.
You know,
that's where it always
starts. Like drums, piano, very mediocre at piano, and guitar, very mediocre too. So I am a person who's quite mediocre at a lot of things, it turns out.
I don't know about that. You're a Renaissance woman, and I am very glad to have you here on the channel. I have a question for you based on the newsletter that you put out called the Crypto Beat newsletter. Before I get into it, though, where can people find that newsletter so they can go and follow you?
If they go to cryptobeat.substack.com, you will find it there. You can subscribe. So it goes out every Friday. It's just basically the biggest headlines from the week in under 5 minutes straight to your inbox. So you can keep track of all the biggest things going on in the crypto space.
Boom. There you go. That link will be down below. In one of your recent Crypto Beat newsletters, you talked about Ray Dalio. If you guys don't know who Ray Dalio is, he's a $20 billion man. He's a giant investor. He is the author of the book Principles, I believe it's called, that I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs speak very highly of. He's a very well-respected man, but he's got some very controversial opinions about cryptocurrency. And it seems to be that he believes that government could kill Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Naomi, one, do you agree with him? Does the government have the ability to kill Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And two, what do you think the future of government involvement in cryptocurrency looks like?
Oh, 2 giant questions there. All right, so Ray Dalio, first of all, I will say that he is not anti-Bitcoin by any means. He's even admitted to holding Bitcoin. He's not one of the Peter Schiff types who's out there saying, this is a tulip bubble. And Ray kind of gets it to some degree. Like, take that with a grain of salt. He has in the past said that, you know, this doesn't have intrinsic value, all that, but he is open-minded enough to dabble. But his comment that stood out to me was when he said that governments have the ability to kill Bitcoin, and they will. If this gets too popular, if this gets too widely used, governments will crack down on it. Now, we all know that Bitcoin is a tool for freedom, right? It is a tool that puts the power of our money back in our hands and takes it out of the hands of central governments and central banks and, dictatorial regimes. It takes that power away. So I think he's spot on that governments are going to be targeting this, the more people that use it, because governments don't want the power of the printing press taken away from them. They will be very sad if that happens, because all of their wish list items like bombing Syria will be taken away. They won't be able to fund it, right? That's why people like Bitcoin, because it takes away this ability for governments to leverage all this money for, things that they may not necessarily agree with. Now, what is interesting is he says that governments, it's one point to say that they might target Bitcoin, but it's another to say that they could kill it if they wanted to. Because I think we have to take a step back and look at the history of Bitcoin. Why was it started and what came before it? Because this wasn't the first alternative money that was created. We've had other digital currencies, in fact, that were created before Bitcoin, and they were shut down. They were shut down by governments, because they were all centralized. It wasn't until Bitcoin that we actually had a money that was decentralized, that was permissionless, that didn't have a focal point that the governments could target. In the past, you had a CEO you could throw in jail. You had a server that you could unplug. Bitcoin doesn't work like that. There are thousands of servers all over the world. So the idea that the government can shut this down is very controversial. And no, I don't agree with that. I think what governments can do is pass a bunch of laws. I think they can say, well, okay, Bitcoin's banned. We saw what happened in China when they said Bitcoin banned. So much FUD the last week. But the thing to key into about the China banning is, they only had to ban Facebook once. They only had to ban Google once. But they've banned Bitcoin so many times. Why? Because you can't really enforce that. It's a decentralized system. Sure, they could start cracking down even harder, and wherever they see more heat generated and electricity used, they could say, oh, well, they might be mining a Bitcoin operation. So they can try to piece together these puzzle clues, but it's so much more difficult to ban something that's decentralized. And we see that reflected in the fact that China has announced their ban so many times. Now it's super ultra mega ban with increased force. We're really doubling down this time. So, even with China banning this, at the end of the day, it didn't stop Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized system that persists whether or not China is on board, whether or not the US government is on board or the Australian government is on board. Because it's borderless and permissionless, any government, any jurisdiction, any geographical location around the world can continue to use this. And as long as the network itself persists, as long as this network persists, people will continue to use it, because it's exactly authoritarian regimes that Bitcoin allows people to circumvent. This is exactly why we need Bitcoin, so that governments can't steal wealth, so that, individuals have back financial sovereignty. So the people in China need Bitcoin probably more than almost anyone. And that's what makes Bitcoin so special and other cryptocurrencies so special.
Love it. That is incredible, Naomi. And I think everybody who is new to cryptocurrency, who might be here for less than 3 months, because we have a lot of new people in cryptocurrency, even though we've been going down for the last 3 months and trading sideways. There's a lot of newcomers to crypto. And what I really want to get at in this interview is the whole theme of what we're going to be talking about here today is, what do we tell the newcomer to the cryptocurrency space? For example, just 2 hours ago, I had to go back to my house for a second, and I met an exterminator who was there exterminating my house. And he was 53 years old. His name was Neil. And I was talking to him about Bitcoin and crypto. And I tried to think of what can I say in 3 sentences to convey the message of crypto to him. And I'm going to be asking you a little bit more about that in that direction here in a second. But I'm going to also ask you a question that I know newcomers to crypto are going to get. Naomi, if China banning Bitcoin did result in the mining going elsewhere and did result in a lot of people stopping using Bitcoin, wouldn't that be an argument against what you're saying about how the governments can't ban Bitcoin? It looks like China may have actually succeeded in that. I don't think that's true, but that is something that people are going to say. So what should we say to people that do say that?
That's such a great point, and I think we have to differentiate between the government banning something and the government killing something. Ray Dalio said that Bitcoin can be killed. Bitcoin cannot be killed, but governments can definitely throttle it. We've seen that in China where they, if the government in the US decides to ban it, so many people are going to stop using it. MicroStrategy probably isn't going to hold something that is banned, and MicroStrategy, as we know, has billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin at this stage. So yes, they can severely throttle it, but Bitcoin came into existence existence on the fringes of society. This wasn't something for the mainstream user. This was something that evolved on fringes, sort of in gray market areas, and that's really where it thrives. So even if Bitcoin is banned, is absolutely going to continue on the fringes of society, but I think it's more than that. People have gotten a taste for what permissionless money looks like. People have gotten a taste for the fact that they can send money to the other side of the world without having to pay huge amounts of fees. I mean, I live in the United States. You may have noticed from my accent, I am not originally from the United States. I'm from Australia. And so, you know, sending money over to America, like, it's actually really annoying and takes like 2 weeks to happen. And that's just getting the transfer approved. Then you've got to wait for that wire to approve, to travel over. I mean, you've got to have phone calls with them. They tell you one exchange rate. Then by the time it actually goes through, there's another one. There's like a 4% spread on that exchange rate. So you're losing money there. And then you're paying $30 as well for your bank on the other side to receive that money. So the fact that I can send money between countries instantaneously, not have to wait, and you know, it's on my terms, I think is huge. I think that, I mean, there's so many use cases for Bitcoin that people have gotten a taste of now, and I don't think they're going to give up that power. I also don't think they're going to give up the convenience, and I think that, like, we think of cryptocurrency as being, well, it's just a substitute for US dollars. Like, no, it's programmable money. We've seen so many different use cases. This isn't just about currency either anymore. Like, we've got NFTs, we've got smart contracts on blockchains, we've got decentralized exchanges where you don't need any middlemen. You can literally exchange money instantaneously with an automatic market maker, with a pool on the other end, rather than a person, just using software. We're living in this world where we're increasingly going towards this decentralized future. It's not just in cryptocurrency, it's in all kinds of ways that society is structured. We've figured out how to decentralize trust, and that's the direction we're moving in. So I think that the cat is out of the bag, and it doesn't matter what laws any country passes. I think people have gotten a taste for, you know, decentralization, for, you know, financial sovereignty, and I think that they're not going to give that up easily. And the fact is that governments can't enforce their bans, absolutely. So this stuff is going to persist for those who want to use it, and now the option is there for them that they can use it.
Yeah, I think any country that does try and ban Bitcoin is eventually going to be going down the same route that the U.S. did with the war on drugs. Like, hey, look, you're trying to ban something that you cannot control. I remember in middle school, I told my dad, isn't the role of the government to only ban something that they, or only controls? Isn't it wise for the government to only try and ban something that they can actually enforce? Because otherwise they're just... they're showing their own weakness if you try and ban something that they can't actually ban. I was learning about prohibition in 7th grade, and I'm like, that was stupid. They just showed how weak they are. That's kind of what we're seeing here.
Wait, can I just ask, how does a 7th grader understand that, but the US government hasn't, and the war on drugs is still going? Like, I don't understand how you can get it immediately, and yet they just keep throwing bad money after bad money. Well,
I'd say it's simple. It makes them money. It didn't make me money, so that's why I realized it was a stupid idea, and they think it's a good one.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Well, Naomi, on that topic of governance, I want to ask you a little bit about CBDCs, because another thing that a lot of people talk about in cryptocurrency, they talk about central bank digital currencies coming out and potentially being a distraction against cryptocurrencies. We're seeing a lot of different nations do this. Bhutan is moving in that direction with RippleNet. We've seen many different countries talk about CBDCs, and a lot of people look at CBDCs the exact same way that they look at crypto, but I think that's a dangerous dichotomy. It is in the name, central bank digital currency. What would you tell to someone who is newer to cryptocurrency and they're hearing about cryptocurrencies and they're hearing about CBDCs? Are they the same thing? What's the difference, and which one should we, the people that value individual freedom, be more interested in?
First thing I'll say, it's a trap. You should, I mean, these, as you hit the nail on the head, these are not cryptocurrencies. The premise of a cryptocurrency is it's all enabled by this trust network that's built on cryptography and decentralized permissionless systems. Central bank digital currencies are the exact opposite of that. And from my vantage point, I don't see how they're any different from the current central bank notes that they issue. I mean, the money that we use is usually not cash. It's not physical in our hands. It's ones and zeros. So all they're doing is say, okay, well, we've got these different ones and zeros that are central bank digital currencies now, and use them. Seems like exactly the same system to me. There may be some nuances in how that technology is implemented, and it may be scarier than the situation now. So I would say not only is it kind of similar to to the bad centrally planned system we have now, it has the potential to be far, far worse. So a couple of examples I'll bring up. China has been talking about central bank digital currencies and how their programmable digital yuan, what that's going to have the capability to do. They've talked about having money in people's accounts just expire if they don't spend it fast enough as a way to control the velocity of money in society. Wow, that's terrifying. And you think, okay, well, that's China. They're a totalitarian, dictatorship. They're going to do bad things. They have bad human rights record. And then the UK last week also says, oh, well, programmability in money seems really interesting. The central bank in the UK literally said that they can start curtailing people's choices to guide them to make better decisions. So they could potentially ban things that they don't consider sensible or, appropriate. They could just ban certain uses of money. That's what this programmability has inherently in it. The ability for the government to have more controls over how that money operates. Now, we already know that right now we have a lot more freedom with cash than we do with the money in our bank accounts, because when you pay someone with cash, that money's in your hand, it goes to someone else's hand, and that's kind of the end of the story. But when you're buying something from your bank account, you need permission from your bank in order to make that purchase. I've had the situation before where I've tried to send money from my Australian bank account to a crypto exchange, and my money's just been frozen, and I haven't even been able to access any of it because the government's just said, actually, we don't like cryptocurrency, so we're going to curtail that use. It doesn't matter whether it's legal or not. They have the ability to control your money if it's in these central middlemen organizations, right? So I think the central bank digital currencies are dangerous because they make this middleman persist. They necessitate these kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll just stick with middleman. I think people understand what that is. When I say middleman, I mean like the intermediaries like Visa and MasterCard or banks or any of that. Anyone where you have to use someone else's system and need permission to use that system. So that sort of system persists, but on top of that, there are even more controls about the money that could exist as well, such as the money just disappearing in your bank account if you don't spend it correctly, such as the money being denied if you try to spend it somewhere where the government doesn't approve. So I think it's a pretty scary direction we're moving in as a society. Lots of governments are phasing out cash already. In Australia, anything that is over $7,000, you're forced to use the banking system, whether you want to or not. You're forced to use it. You can't pay with cash. In Italy, I think it's above 1,000 euros. France as well, 1,000 euros. You have to use a bank. I mean, you may not agree with banks. You may not like their methodology. You may not like philosophically what they're about. It doesn't matter. The government is forcing you to use these businesses and propping them up, whether you agree with them or not. I think that's a scary situation if they phase out cash. But that definitely seems to be the situation they're moving in, because more and more they're talking about central bank digital currencies. And if everything becomes digital in our future, that's the future we're looking at, a future where the government has more and more control.
I think that's the scary thing and why Bitcoin has done so well and resonated with people so much, especially ever since the 2008 financial crisis when the banks just blew everything up. We had Negam come over and pick your payment and all this stuff, and the housing bubble burst and the entire economy fell apart. I was 8 years old at the time. Messed up my childhood in a lot of ways because it pulled the rug out from under my dad and his income. And a lot of people lost a lot of faith in the government. They've been doing that for the last 100 years. They've been losing the faith in the government. And, a brother of mine told me one time, the job of the government is to praise the good and punish the evil, not punish the bad, because bad is subjective. Evil, like murder, those kind of things, that's the role of the government, not a whole lot else. If they did that, they would be probably 20th the size of what they are right now. And I think one of the scary things...
smaller than that. So much of what they do is just creating stacks and stacks of legislation that no one even knows what they are. It's impossible for a single person to know how many laws are actually in existence, because so much of the law writing consists of them giving a blank check of regulation to a certain, a government department and saying, hereby, anything that you write in your books is considered a law. They do so much of that even the lawmakers themselves, like this stuff wasn't voted on, this wasn't taken through the House House and voted on by elected representatives. This is just some bureaucrat that from henceforth they're allowed to write laws that like go into our legal books. Like, it's a crazy system. But sorry, I interrupted there. I just needed that rant. I needed to just
that's what you're here for.
Get that out.
That's what I brought you here for, Naomi. I love the I don't want to put a label on you, but a very libertarian feel of me, and I think that we relate on a lot of areas there. The interesting side note, the federal income tax was instituted in America during the Civil War, and it was supposed to be temporary to fund the Civil War in the North, and then it stayed and then continued to grow and grow and grow and grow, and then you see the debasement of the currency, hence why Bitcoin exists. But the point I was making is central bank digital currency. I really like half of that initialism. I like the digital currency part. The problem is the central bank part, because I think you and I would agree probably the most revolutionary technological development that we've seen in the 21st century is the advancement of digital trustless systems like blockchains, like Bitcoin. So what I think that people need to keep in mind is look for digital currencies, yes, but if you forget about the importance of the decentralized nature of a blockchain, of something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, then all you've done is given your enemy a stronger tool to oppress you with. We've seen it throughout history. It's something that you want to be very careful with. Naomi, if you had 5 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you one more question after this. Now, if you had 5 minutes with a newcomer to the cryptocurrency market, what is the thing that you would tell them in that 5-minute period to help them?
Oh goodness, that's tough. All right, if you're new to crypto, you're trying to understand this world, there are so many different coins out there, there's so many different services out there. It's really hard to figure out what is noise, what is someone just trying to sell their scammy product, what is actually something that's useful. Just find the voices in the space that you think you can trust. So definitely you, Jebb, it's so I'm really happy that you exist, because you are giving people such valuable information about what is actually empowering them as individuals, and not something that is going to have a rug pulled out from underneath that. So resources like that are invaluable, so thank you. I would say that from my perspective, first of all, if you're completely new, there's a whole rabbit hole you have to dive into about how to store your cryptos correctly. My channel really focuses on privacy. So that's sort of my bread and butter, is giving people security tips, because as more of our lives exist in the ether, as more of it is digital, I think that this is a world that a lot of people haven't quite realized can be filled with security holes and vulnerabilities, and there's so much we need to do to protect ourselves. And then there are people who are just throw their hands up in the air and they're like, oh, well, this is all too hard. I'm not going to care about any of it. No. I would say my biggest tip to you is you should care, but don't be overwhelmed. There are tiny changes, more conscious decisions you could be making in your life that makes your whole online experience more private and secure, especially when you're dealing with cryptocurrency. So just, take a deep breath and take one step at a time. And the more conscious choices you're taking one at a time are going to help you dramatically. There are always vulnerabilities. There are always security holes and ways to get hacked and all of that. But you're going to add things to your security privacy toolbox that will help you over time and make a tremendous difference. And you have to realize that when people talk about the myriad of vulnerabilities and everything that you could be exposed to, most of them are trying to scare you. They're probably trying to get you to click on things and be worried about something that isn't even targeted to you. So the other thing I would say is understand your threat model, right? Snowden is going to have a very different threat model to, an average crypto user who's just trying to protect his account. You guys need completely different methods of protecting yourself. Yes, the average person is going to still have the same vulnerabilities that Snowden does, but you don't need to be worried about them, because implementing a lot of those hacks is incredibly costly, requires specific targeting. So if you're an enemy of the state, maybe someone might use it on you. But if you're an average person, the government's not going to spend millions of dollars to use a 0-day and target you. So, to an absolute beginner, just don't be overwhelmed. This stuff is manageable. You can make good decisions. Go to the voices like Jebb that you trust and who give you good advice, and just take it slowly. And the other thing I would say is just, if you're still learning, just be careful not to dive into anything too quickly. Take your time. Ignore the FOMO. Ignore the people who are like, you're going to miss out on this amazing deal. If anyone is giving you these time parameters and saying you're going to miss out, they're usually snake oil salesmen. You can just ignore that stuff, take it at your own pace, and just move as slowly as you need to feel comfortable that you actually understand what you're doing.
I love it. So many people get so discouraged because cryptocurrency is a new paradigm. It's a new asset class. You know, this doesn't happen very often. The last time anything comparable to what we're seeing right now was the birth of the internet. And a lot of people that are my age weren't alive then. When I was born, the internet had been around for like 7 years. Amazon was founded 7 years before I was born. So I haven't ever witnessed a paradigm shift like this. So if you haven't seen something like this and you're my age or a little bit older, then you might not be familiar with a big paradigm shift like this that we're seeing in the financial markets. We've seen the same thing happen in tech. I would do exactly what Naomi just said. I would encourage you, just take it slowly. Don't get overwhelmed. You're not going to miss out. There's a lot of gains here. There's a lot of things that you can do here to make yourself financially free, and make sure to just invest in yourself. I love what you said there, Naomi. One final question before I let you go. What is the cause that you are the most passionate about, and why?
Oh, I think freedom for the individual. I think it's just kind of innate. You know, we get one life, and I think people should explore that life and be able to do things that jive with their own personal value system. And I don't like the idea that we can set up all these rules and regulations that mean that a person can go through their whole life and not experience the potential of it that, you know, is according to their value system. I agree with what you said at the start of the show, Jebb, in terms of those people who are curtailing choices. Yeah, don't, like, big rules. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. And outside of that, I think people should be able to, you know, like the right to try with pharmaceuticals, like something like that. If you have a terminal illness, of course, you should have the right to do whatever it takes to try to fix that. A lot of people don't realize that that's illegal in a lot of the world, not just in a lot of places in the United States. So, you know, I'm all about controlling your own money. I think that's a linchpin for society. If an individual starts being able to control their own money rather than someone else controlling it on their behalf, it gives them back so much more power and freedom in their lives. Control your own data as well, because if someone else is just tracking every single thing you're doing and surveilling you, that's also another method for control. So, you know, you don't have to be doing anything illegal. I'm an incredibly law-abiding person. I'm not like an outrageous person. I'm a very ordinary, normal, you know, law-abiding person. But I love the idea of being able to just choose when I'm giving companies data, when I'm giving governments data. I like it to be on my terms, and there are very, you know, simple things you could do to do that. So like controlling your own money, controlling your own data, freedom for the individual. I think they're just really important things that make a better society. You know, I honestly do believe that that is better for all of us. Just let people be more free. But that is what I would say.
That's amazing. Well, Naomi, I think we need more people like you in the world. Where can people go to find you? I know they can find you on your YouTube channel. We want to get you to 100,000 subscribers. She's at 80 right now, 81 maybe.
So close.
Go subscribe to her channel. We hit 100K like 4 months ago. I was so thankful. Wow. I want to see the smile on Naomi's face when she hits 100K. So follow her there, but where else can they find you?
Okay, so I'm on every social media platform. I'm embracing this decentralized world. So as soon as there's a crypto-based platform, I want to explore it. I want to support it. I want to support the people that are building our decentralized future. So if there's a platform I'm not on, let me know. But you can, I mean, my website is mbtv.media. You can head there and find out find our latest newsletters and videos. Twitter, I'm Naomi Brockwell on Twitter. YouTube, it's Naomi Brockwell TV. I'm on all of these places, but I'm also on read.cash and Minds and Library and memo.cash and Float, and like all of these platforms. You'll find me on all of them.
Well, go follow her there, guys. She's got a lot of great content. You can also find her around the blockchain every once in a while. She shows up around the blockchain. But Naomi, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Is there any final thing that you would like to let the audience know before we wrap it out?
I would let them know that they are on a path that is a good one. You're exploring new horizons, you're open-minded, you are embracing new technology, and I think that's a good thing to do. So just keep going.
That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also make sure to make sure to subscribe to Naomi's channel. I want to see her hit 100,000 subscribers, $100,000 too, 100,000 subscribers. That's all I got for you today, guys. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.